Good day and welcome back. And what a market! I mean, everything collapses. The rand wants to weaken. The gold you will see now is dropping. The markets are finding some sellers across the world. Bond markets in South Africa get sold off. Everything is just upside down. And then we've got a credit event everybody's talking about. So everything is just on the wrong side. But if I look at these charts, it just tells you that there is fear all around. And let's kick off with gold. I mean, gold, can you believe it? It had a straight sell-off from $1,950 all the way down to 1,827. And it is in 7 sessions. What an awkward way to sell off an instrument. But what do you see here? It's a classic waterfall formation. And we know it is oversold. And what do I see? I see a tiny little dragonfly doji right at the bottom. So I think the worst for gold is over. And maybe if we can turn around here, we can see a nice bounce. And we all know that when you see a waterfall formation and it finds some bottom and you see a dragonfly doji candle and that gets followed up with a beautiful, maybe bullish engulfing candle, you can maybe see that the share or the index or the instrument can give a beautiful bounce. So for me, it's quite simple. If I use that dragonfly, remember dragonfly always tells you that there's some informed buyers buying the dip. So for me, I think gold can maybe start to lift its head above 1829.50. Let's make it 1830 for a nice psychological level. Let's use a stop loss of 1815. And boy, oh boy, what's my targets to the top? It can go 1850. I mean, that is $20. Then 1858, 1865. You'll find some proper resistance at 1880. And if we look at this chart, everybody was looking at this lower highs. For me, the first proper resistance will be there because that was first a support. It worked on top of that, then it started to drop below that, and that is sitting at 1885. And can you believe it? Look at the 50-day moving average sloping down all the way, and that is only waiting at 1916. So only above 1916 you can maybe see that the 50-day moving average can turn into a support. Now that brings all the shares up. Durban Roodepoort, Harmony, Goldfields, Sibanye. Okay, but Sibanye is like a mixed play. But have your eyes on them. It can maybe give us some beautiful returns or turnarounds if you see that the gold price can maybe pick up from here. Let's have a look at Thungela. A friend of mine, he actually tells me that he's following Thungela because he believes that we can close this gap. And yes, he dropped me an email, and what do we see here? I tend to agree with him. There's a beautiful double bottom. There's the 50-day moving average sloping down, starting to turn around. But where is the gap? The gap sits exactly between that line there. And where does it close? It closed there. There you are. Just want to get that. There you are. Now, this gap developed a while back, and maybe it can still close, and that is between 179.60, that's the high of that candle, and the low there is 198.56. So there's almost a 6 rand gap here that it needs to fill. So yes, if you want to play the gap, you can do so because it's higher lows all the way. But unfortunately, I think you're a little bit late. It is overbought, and I think there's more other opportunities in the market where the shares are not overbought but oversold. But yes, if you want to play the gap, buy it when this gap starts to enter and use 168.99 as your stop loss, and your target, of course, if the gap closes, will be at 198.56. Let's see if that can maybe develop. Well, let's have a look at another one, and that's of course Bitcoin, because the viewer asked me, he said, Frans, but Bitcoin at least is showing some strength here and is not showing any weakness that that Bitcoin wants to come down. And if I look at this chart, look at this. I mean, with all the markets under pressure, Bitcoin came from that low of it around 24,800, let's make it 25,000, gave a double bottom. There was the double bottom. Everybody was talking about a huge head and shoulder. Yes, but there's the left shoulder, there's the head, and we're still working on the right shoulder. But for me, beautiful rally from 25,000, and we had a little shooting star here all the way down, and it took it down to 27,331. But I want to say that Bitcoin is starting to show some strength. I'm not interested in buying it, but I can analyze it for you. And for me, Bitcoin, while it is above 27331, 27,331, the momentum is up. So if you want to buy it, yes, you can buy it, but use a stop loss of, because this one is very volatile, 26,906. And where can it go to? It can reach back to that high of 27,682, then 28033, and then maybe reach for 28,600. So that looks bullish to me. Let's see if it can carry on. Bitcoin looks bullish to me, but just keep in mind, we've got maybe this. I can just draw the neckline in for you, but that's still early days. There you are. There's the left shoulder. There's the head. And we may be working on the right shoulder, but the right shoulder can go quite high. So stick to your stop loss. I like the chart. It can maybe surprise us all the way to the top. Let's have a look at Rand Merchant Bank, or Rand Merchant Holdings as it is known now, with all this market volatility that we've got. Yes, it is an illiquid share. It doesn't trade a lot because you can see the candles. But for me, if you have a market like we've got now and everything just gets sold off, but suddenly you've got a share that is almost holding its own, that doesn't drop, that it just hang in there, for me, that's a positive sign. So for me, remember, it is a bank. They sit on well, they've got a bank license, sorry, they restructured the company, they've got some cash, they paid it out as a special dividend. But for me, this is telling me that somebody is happy to buy the share between 49 cents and 46 cents. So for me, if you want to buy the share, and I'm looking at it, above 49, it will give us a beautiful buying signal. If I do this support line here all the way, trend line, you can see, what do we see? We see some higher lows. It's a beautiful ascending triangle. And if it breaks to the top, it can maybe take it to 52. But the big resistance is this 52. If it breaks above that, I think we can see that Rand Merchant Bank Holdings can maybe give us a nice bounce to the top. Well, Arcellor Mittal. Let's have a look at Arcellor Mittal. I mean, it's one of the dogs of the market. Everybody hates the share because they talk about the load shedding that messes them around. And someone asked me, but Frans, is there a possibility that this share can maybe stand out from the ashes? Now, for me, it's quite simple. If we look at this, we had an ugly sell-off. I mean, we're well below the 50-day moving average here. We had a shakeout candle, and I like these shakeout candles, especially if you want to buy the share. If you see a shakeout candle, quite often that's the reversal, because that shakes everybody out. And there you are, above that little line, and there's the line above 168. I think we can maybe see a nice higher low, because it's working on some higher lows here. Then you'll have the confirmation. So along above 168, not such a bad idea. Use a stop loss of 146. And I mean, if this share starts to go, you've got numerous targets. I mean, you've got 172, 175, 183, 187, 197, and 2 Rand. And I just let my guys know the other day on the speculation group. I said, if you see a share or an instrument or an index just being knocked and hammered every day, if this thing turns around, you'll be surprised how far this share can really go. So let's see if it can turn around. Let's stick to that stop loss. and maybe it surprises us. Well, thank you for watching the show. Visit our website www.fransdeklerk.com for more info, and we will chat again.